Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim wa sadaqa rasuluhu an-nabiyyul kareem. Praise is due to Allah, whose word cannot be described by speakers, whose bounties cannot be counted by reckoners, whose claim to obedience cannot be satisfied by those who attempt to do so, whom the height of intellectual courage cannot appreciate the divings of understanding, cannot reach he for whose description no limit is laid down, no eulogy exists, no duration is fixed. Lord Almighty Allah sent His beloved Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi, in fulfillment of His promise in completion of the Prophethood. Please send through the Sharif in the court of Holy Majesty. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. In respect of the biography of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi, we have been talking about the invitation of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi to the infidels of Makkah, Arabia, and the response of these infidels when the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi did not deter himself from inviting people towards the folds of Islam, despite the persecution, trouble, and all kinds of tormenting initiated by the infidels of Makkah. The infidels got completely upset and disturbed. They kept meeting one another and hatching out plans and conspiracies against the Prophet of Allah, so that his work of invitation could be stopped. And they decided once in the Mina that they would ask the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam a thing which appears to be very impossible for anybody to carry out. So it is said, according to Hazrat Ibn Abbas, Walid ibn Mughira, Abu Jahl ibn Hisham, As ibn Hisham, Nazar ibn Haris, all these people gathered in Mina. And when they found the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in the night of 14th moon, they gathered and said to the Prophet of Allah, O Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we would believe in you if you split this moon into two, so that one part of the moon should be over the Mount Abu Qubais, and another part of the moon should be on the Mount Quran. The Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked them that if I do so, will you testify that there is no God but Allah and I am His messenger? They said, we will do that. On that, the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam supplicated in the court of Lord Almighty Allah, and with one finger of his, he pointed towards the moon, and the moon split into two. One was over Abu Qubais and another was over Quran. And the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then asked them, now embrace Islam. Now testify that there is no God but Allah and I am His messenger. Then these people, as their wont, they said that this is magic. We do not accept that. You have cast a spell on our eyes. You have mesmerized us with sorcery, and we would not accept. One of these infidels said that if the splitting of the moon was real, then we had to find out from the people who were coming from far off places, not from Mecca, so that we could find out whether it was real splitting of the moon or something had happened, because others wouldn't see this, as they were completely convinced that the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has cast spell on their eyes. That's why they were able to see this into two. And when few people who came from different places to Makkah, they started making inquiries. Did they see that the moon has split on so and so date? those people said that, yes, we were all stunned, we were all astonished when we saw that moon split into two. And when they realized that this was the real miracle that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performed, instead of accepting Islam, instead of testifying in him, they said that he has cast spell on the entire world. They said that his spell, his sorcery is so powerful that he has also cast spell on magicians, sorcerers, so on and so forth. Dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, they in reality somehow wanted to disprove the message of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but they all failed, and the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always succeeded. Always he showed to the world that who he was, but those who were fortunate, they embraced Islam. Those who were unfortunate, they kept themselves away from truth, from Islam, from Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, on this only, in Surah Qamar, Lord Almighty Allah mentioned this, that the time has come, the hour is near, and the moon has split. Yet they make excuses. They say this is the magic. Dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, the Prophet of Allah in reality had conveyed his vision to the entire world, and it was on them now. If they had embraced Islam, they would have really redeemed themselves from all kinds of sins, but they did not do so. It is also said that this particular spectacle of the splitting of the moon had been witnessed in India. It had been seen in India. You all knew that in Kerala, there was, at the time of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a dynasty known as Chira dynasty. And the king of the Chira dynasty had the title of Cheraman Perumal. It is said that he had gone up to his palace roof and he was standing there. He happened to see the splitting of the moon. He was astonished what is happening. Way after that, we all know that there is commerce between Arabia and the Malabar region in Kerala. So a group of businessmen, a group of merchants who were traveling to different parts of the world, they had come. They were from Arabia. Okay? Either they were going to Sri Lanka or they were returning to China. But they met Chairman Perumal. And it is said that his name has been given by different people. Some say that his real name was Chakravarti. And they met him and they talked about Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's invitation to the people, how a prophet had come and had guided all the people. And during that talk, they talked about his miracle. And in those miracles, they also talked about how the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had split the moon into two. On that, Chairman Perumal, he got astonished. He said that, what are you saying? I myself witnessed here on top of the roof of my palace, the splitting of the moon. And that had changed his entire life. And it is said, dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, he abdicated, rather he gave his kingdom to his son. And there are traditions that he split into two, or he divided his kingdom into three. He gave one part to one of his nephews and two to his sons, so on and so forth. And then he accompanied them to Arabia, to Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he embraced Islam at the hand of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. While he was returning, it is said that in today's present day, Salalah in Oman, he passed away. But he had written a letter to his son that few people who are companions of the Prophet of Allah are coming there. Let them carry out the work of invitation. And there they built a mosque. All right. And that mosque is known as Chiraman Juma Mosque. I myself had the honor to visit that mosque way back in 2010, which was built by, attributed to Hazrat Malik bin Dinar. So about 10 companions had come at that time, it seems, and they had all built mosques along the coast. Okay. Dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, the grave of Cheraman Perumal is still there in Salalah, and people, it seems, visit there. Now, when you look at the Islamic tradition, you will find one particular hadith which is reported by Hakim, and it is, from Hazrat Abu Sayyid Khudri radiallahu anhu, who said that a king from India had visited the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he had brought a jar of pickle. He gave it to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a gift, and the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam distributed from that to all of us, and I also got a piece of it. That's what Hazrat Sayyid Khudri, he actually said this. Dear servants of the Prophet of Allah, inshallah we'll continue with this, that how Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performed miracles after miracles. Yet these infidels, they did not want to embrace Islam, and they did not. Those whose hearts and minds were guided, for them no miracle was required to believe in the oneness of the Lord and messengership of Holy Majesty Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Peace and do the Sharif Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi.